Hello, my name is Patrick, and my ISU presentation is on financial restitution. First, let's look at what restitution is. Restitution is the act of restoring to the rightful owner something that has been taken away, lost, or surrendered. Or, it is the act of making good or compensating for loss, damage, or injury. Financial restitution is the act of restoration or compensation with money. When relating to crime, financial restitution is considered a right that victims have. It derives from the belief that criminals must be held accountable for their crimes and that they should be forced to compensate for what they have taken from their victim. Financial restitution differs from compensation, which is when the state pays the victim for their losses, including pain and suffering, and instead the offender pays the victim directly. Restitution can occur as a standalone order, which is an additional sentence on top of serving jail time, as a condition of probation, or as a conditional sentence, meaning it is instead of jail time. The latter usually occurs when the crime is damage to property, and the offender must pay for the damages and/or perform community service hours. In Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Nova Scotia, victims are able to apply for restitution. They must fill out the proper forms and submit them in order to be eligible, and there are numerous reasons that financial restitution would be considered. These reasons include property damage, loss of property, physical or psychological harm, and expenses incurred as a result of the crime, which includes the expenses that occur when vacating the offender's home if the victim is illegally forced to leave. In the other provinces and territories across Canada, financial restitution must be ordered by the Crown Council, and victims may not apply for it. This does not, however, stop the victims from pursuing a civil suit against the offender. Currently, a financial restitution order can be issued by a criminal court after the offender has been found guilty. In a 2009 study, the Department of Justice estimated that almost 70% of crime-related costs are paid for by the victims of the crime. It was also found that fewer restitution orders were issued than a decade before, and the Canadian Centre for Justice Statistics found that in 2006-2007, 7,490 restitution orders were made out of over 240,000 guilty cases. That is a total of 3.1%, which is 1.5% less than 11 years before. As well, 80% of those restitution orders were made in cases pertaining to property crime. The occurrence of financial restitution is lowering by the year. There are a variety of pros to financial restitution. First, it provides a vision of support and benefits for the victims of crime. Also, it holds the offender accountable for their crime and helps to reform them. As well, it provides financial assistance to the victim, allowing them to begin to move on with their life while helping to alleviate the taxpayer's expenses as compensating is no longer necessary. Finally, it increases the victim's satisfaction with the justice system and guarantees that they receive reparations for their losses. There are also certain cons when it comes to financial restitution. The biggest would be that often, restitutions go unpaid because the offender is unable to raise the required funds to pay the victim. Another is that not many people know about restitution, and very few provinces support every victim having the right to apply for restitution, so it is frequently neglected. As well, financial restitution could theoretically prolong trials, as the amount of reparations that need to be paid would need to be determined after the accused is found guilty, and it's even possible that the idea of receiving additional money from the offender would encourage a victim to commit perjury and lie about the events in order to attempt to make the accused look guilty. The chart at the bottom right shows the results of a study that determined that only 5% of people are well informed and aware of restitution. A scenario where financial restitution would be beneficial is as follows. A man trespasses on private property and is caught after causing significant damage. For example, destroying a fence, destroying signs, etc. He then goes to criminal court for trespassing on private property and is found guilty. Instead of the owner of the property having to file a separate civil suit against the man, financial restitutions could be used to pay for the damage done to the property. The offender would then be ordered to pay for any repairs, or possibly ordered to perform community service, and the case would be settled. In my opinion, the right to apply for financial restitution should be implemented into every territory and province in Canada, as the pros far outweigh the cons. Frivolous orders could easily be tossed away, and victims would no longer have to rely solely on the Crown to attempt to pursue restitution. An offender being forced to pay reparations to the victim of their crime would also serve as an assurance that the legal system is working and that justice has been done. It can also save the victim the expense of having to file a civil suit against the offender, and it will help to remove the clutter from the courts. Overall, financial restitution is a positive action, and criminals should have to pay their victims if they are found guilty. Of course, the amount of the reparations they would be required to pay would vary based on a case-by-case basis. That concludes my presentation on financial restitution. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed it.